So today's episode not brought to you by New Belgium.
Definitely. Well, Fat Tire is the branding. Cheers.
Is it New Belgium? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Fat Tire, New Belgium is the beer type. It's Belgian white, actually, technically. So I don't know why they actually feel the need to say that twice. Or, never mind, they're all New Belgium Fat
That's
Tire.
what I said, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I
No,
can't read.
that's not
I mean,
what I
I
said.
can read, but maybe too well. It became a detriment at a point.
I actually don't mind this. It's almost like a Hefeweizen without all the citrus. Get that fruit out of my beer.
Get that fruit. That being said, I love the summer shandy.
Yeah,
Lightning Kugel. Oh my god,
it's good. It's good.
What about like when you get an orange garnish on a beer? You're like, get that shit out of here.
Yeah, no, that's
I almost always will deny it.
unsanitary.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's unsanitary if you're not washing your fucking oranges, which I highly doubt many bartenders are actually going through the effort of
Because they just
washing
pull
their
them out of that little
oranges.
thing. It's just sitting on every bar and they're like, toothpick?
Little tiny Lexand.
Oh, Jesus.
I spent a lot of years in restaurants, and it was one thing that I learned is that not as many people went through the measures of proper sanitation as I did. So, not to say that I've ever seen anybody do anything to food, but I've seen people not do things to food that they should be doing before you eat it.
Which is equally as bad.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's not doing the things to your food, it's doing things to yourself, too.
Absolutely.
Wash them hands. Kid.
Wash them.
Yeah.
Like,
Love yourself,
working at an
man.
office, the amount of times I will be in like a bathroom stall taking a shit, and then you hear somebody else come and take a piss and not wash their hands and leave, or
It's always that little look where you're like, you're really gonna walk out of here?
Yeah.
I
It's
don't
like
give. I
you're
mean,
that piece
Not
of
even
shit.
like a quick ski, like
yeah, anything.
And then you're
Like
out.
maybe you don't use soap, but you're just
Yeah.
trying with H2O.
That's like one thing. Like you
Probably-
could get away with.
You're
that.
making progress at least.
Right.
A
Well,
little bit of sanitation.
anything is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Please.
100%.
Please. Anything is better than nothing.
Okay. Well, now that we're done talking about not washing your hands,
It's always a great opener.
what's up, Cody? Thanks for other Cody.
Yeah.
So can I call you Cutthroat Cody, Crash Test Cody? Which one would you
Test
prefer?
There's actually a lot of different versions of Cody. One of my personal favorites, but my mother's least favorite is Cryface Cody.
Cryface.
Cryface Cody, because from time to time, if I get too drunk and I get really sentimental, and then I hug people and then I cry about shit. So
This
I
is
mean,
like happy crying.
for right now, like CTC is okay.
Okay, CTC.
Yeah,
CTC.
I think we'll just call you Cody.
yeah, Cody's fine.
My identity.
The Cody and Marco hour,
That's what I was saying.
It's the Underachievers podcast,
the Underachievers podcast.
presented by
I thought it
Cold
was called
Soup.
Two Codys and a Mark.
What do we call it? Two boys, two beers. Was
God.
That's
a
good.
very small working name for a split second.
I just think it limits us.
Yeah, to two beers.
To two
instead.
beers.
Yeah, see, this would be it.
I don't want to hold myself back or set myself to some kind of standard, like a number.
I you know what, I do like to put enough pressure on myself to make limitations, but it's a very, very important thing.
My only issue is I always have to pee whenever we're doing these.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah.
like
You
about
can do it
3
all the
beers. Yeah, 3 beers deep. I'm sitting like crisscross.
Well,
And then I'm like, yeah.
if I ever come back in, I'm hoping that we're able to at least do like an 8 beer minimum, and then we can just install some catheters and
beers.
then we'll be
Yeah,
okay.
right there. No, that's we're gonna do 2. One, the first one I want to just mainly talk about wrestling
Okay.
stuff
That's
related to wrestling.
Okay.
And then the second one we'll just go for it.
Palaver.
Yeah. What? Palaver?
Palaver.
Palaver?
Is
Yeah.
that a?
It's one of my big fancy words.
I was going to say,
I
we need
heard-
to pull up the...
I heard somebody say it, and I'm like, that sounds cool. And then I looked it up on Google, and it's a fancy word for speaking.
Ooh. Palaver.
almost sounds like condescending. Like, are you palavering at me, mate?
You
Trying to palaver at me? I fucking knock you out.
No, you have your bloody cunt.
Dude, Jesus.
But yeah, pro wrestling.
Palaver.
I know a little bit about that.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I've seen...
I think when it comes to at least people that I think of in Vegas, as far as wrestlers go, it's you. No, not in specific order. You, Jace, and Suede.
Yeah.
I think and Greg. Right? That's what you. Did I say Greg?
You just said Greg.
Okay. I was like, okay. But yeah,
Roll the tape.
like those guys, like you guys are like the ones that I always think so, and then like you, on like the wrestling, and then you're also like a big fan of horror movies as well.
Yes.
So that's like the next step of like the bar. That's like wrestling then. horror
You
movies,
become a
I think.
wrestler, and then soon after, you're Michael Myers in a movie.
Yeah, I actually pulled a lot from horror movies, specifically Hellraiser, when I was doing the Cutthroat Cody stuff.
Hence the mask with the.
Yes.
Oh my god, that made sense.
Yes.
Were those actual Were they real needles or no?
So they were actually screws. And the story
Screws.
with that mask, I went to go visit my girlfriend who works for a European cruise line. And I went to go take a cruise with her, and I told her an idea that I had for a mask. And then I showed her pictures of Pinhead. And then I also showed her pictures of some of the members of Ghost, like the Nameless Ghouls.
Okay.
And we were actually in Italy, so we kept on coming across all those Sun Warrior masks that the Nameless Ghouls were originally wearing. And I told her, I'm like, something like that with pins in it would be fucking awesome. And every port that we stopped at, she ended up picking up a different piece of material for the mask. So she got the cloth and grease, and then we got the facets, I believe, in Italy. Possibly, if I remember correctly, it might have been Venice. And then she made the mask for me before I left. And then I went and I got the screws in America to put into the mask. So
Good old American screws.
absolutely. American ingenuity with a little bit of European fabric. And yeah, that mask was heavily inspired by Hellraiser as well as the band Ghost.
Okay.
So I pulled from a lot of things. Horror movies, Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan, Church of Satan. And I also...
Talking about materials.
Absolutely. I also pulled a lot from music. And I found in wrestling, there's a trend that's happening right now where people are trying to do what other wrestlers are doing. And to me, that seems very, very, very cheap. You know, when you're pulling from other pro wrestlers that are doing pro wrestling things, I would rather take a little bit of things from here and there and then try to change them enough to where I'm not blatantly ripping them off.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Gotcha.
imagine that's pretty common with like the smaller wrestling scene that we have like here. Not like everything that's non-WWE. I was going to say non-professional wrestling, but I know it's still like that. Most of those guys are just trying to copy what's on TV.
What's working.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Well, but in all candor, if you look at most of the stuff that's happening in WWE right now, like Seth Rollins, for instance, as soon as Okada became big, Seth Rollins started using the ripcord into the jumping knee. So, and even if you look at CM Punk was doing the go to sleep, the Anaconda Vice, and the running knee in the corner. Yuji Nagata was the one that was doing the running knee in the corner. The Anaconda Vice came from Hiroyoshi Tenzin. I'm probably saying his name wrong, but that was one of Tenzin's moves. And the go to sleep was Kenta's move. And he was even doing the Kenta combo. So even in mainstream wrestling, you know, people are pulling shit from other wrestlers all the time. And it is kind of hard when it comes specifically to moves, because it's really hard to be an innovator because there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
I remember thinking about moves, like I'd play with action figures and all of a sudden I'd make a move. I'm like, oh, holy shit, this is great. And then, like, weeks later, I'd end up seeing Nova, who was, like, an innovator. Chris Kanyon, who was Mortis in WCW. He was a guy that was always making new moves. They would basically do about the same thing. And then it's like, oh, fuck. And when I got more into it, I started... If I was going to pull anything from wrestling, I was pulling setups. Like, how are they going into...
How are they getting to point A to point B where you want to do that move?
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
So, and I also tried my best to, if I was going to do a move that other people were doing, I wanted to have different ways of going into it. So, the crossface, for instance, I always loved the move, but I never really thought about putting it into my moveset until one day I'm like, man, there's got to be a lot of different ways to go into this.
Yeah.
And I liberally took a few, and then I also had some people help me out with a few. And then I made some of my own. And it ended up making other people do the crossface. Yeah. But how many people were doing the schoolboy into a crossface? Yeah. How many people were doing a crucifix pin into a crossface? Yeah. So that's, if any wrestlers listening to this, pull different things.
Don't do the schoolboy into the crossface.
Eventually I'll be done. You can take the schoolboy. Just wait for me to be gone.
I have no patent on it, yeah. It's important.
So talking about moves, what's your favorite move?
It's really, really hard to pinpoint an exact favorite move. I know, like, for my personal go-tos, obviously the crossface I think is amazing. One move that I always really loved that I never did up until my last match with Nick Bugatti was the Shining Wizard. I also, one of the main reasons I never did the move is because it became so popular and a lot of people were doing it, and I don't want to do things that other people are doing. Oh, there you go. And Winona hijacking the podcast with the run-in, knocking out the microphone of Cody.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
He's giving you guys a heads up of his future in commentating.
So, absolutely. So, I really enjoy the crossface. I really enjoyed the Shining Wizard, and I also wasn't using the Shining Wizard because a lot of people were doing it, but specifically one of my trainers, Funny Bone, was using the Shining Wizard a lot. So I'm not going to use something that he's using. And I asked for his blessing in the last match that I had to use that move, which I was very happy to do. Other moves specifically. Just wrestling in general, I can tell you. I'll tell you some moves that I'm not a fan of.
There?
Yes.
So real quick, let me just say my favorite move.
Tell me.
Everyone hates it. It's the Bronco Buster.
The Bronco Buster?
The Bronco Buster.
The flying cock in the mouth?
Yeah. Have you ever seen that?
I mean, you know, like, when it comes to wrestling, I've probably seen him, but I would never be able to, like, name them.
Do you remember X-Pac?
Only, like, vaguely.
From Generation X?
Yeah. I would have been, like, 12.
So it's like, the setup is like the person is like sitting down in the corner. And the dude X-Pac would be like on the other end, like parallel to him, and he would run and like realistically crotch first, like
just jump
like onto them, like and then he would even take it a further step where he would do it like 3 or 4 times, like so he'd be in like he'd like do the thing and then he would be like bam 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 and I don't know why. I think it's like because no one does it. I've always just wanted to see someone
it's gotta be
very
too.
seriously Bronco Buster something.
Yeah, you know, Rey Mysterio picked it up for a little bit, and he picked it up for a little bit back in his WCW days, and I've seen a few other people do it. You know, X-Pac actually ripped his asshole doing that on an indie show.
Yeah.
Yes, and you know, sometimes you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Sometimes you live by putting your dick in people's mouths, and other times you get your asshole ripped by trying to put your dick in people's mouths. So there's a lesson to be learned there, I'm sure. But yeah, so moves I don't like, and I don't like them because they're really not safe. The Kenny Omega V-trigger flying knee, it's just really not safe. I've seen a lot of people get hurt doing it. I've seen a lot of people try to do it and hurt themselves damn near doing it. Buckle bombs, turnbuckle power bombs.
Oh, yeah.
That move is extremely dangerous.
The one that retired Sting and
retired Sting. There was a guy in California that tried to buckle bomb somebody in a CWF or Championship Wrestling from Hollywood taping, and completely just powerbombed the dude out of the fucking ring. Ooh. Like, I mean, just entirely. And
so, like, he missed the top rope and was just like...
Yep, entirely. Just, like, not even, like, purposefully. Like, he was aiming for the top rope, but it was just... It's something that... It's just fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
Like, and in all candor, you can't actually hit those things without having to try to take care of the dude. Mm-hmm. So... it always ends up looking less impressive than anything.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to hit me, fucking hit me.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather have somebody hit me full force than try to pretend to hit me and then hurt me when they're trying to pretend to hit me.
Right.
Like, just
like
fucking
if I'm going to
hit
get
me.
hurt, I want it to be at least
with the intention.
legit.
Yeah.
legit looking.
So, when I was being trained... I was coming up in a point in time where there was still an emphasis on lay your shit in a safe way, but fucking bring it. Like, if you're going to hit a motherfucker, fucking hit him.
Yeah.
And I came up in that world, and nowadays you have people that, like, everyone likes to smack their leg on forearms. And I've been hit in the face
Oh,
more
yeah.
times when somebody's trying to smack their leg on a forearm than I have with somebody
they're, like,
actually
focused
hitting
on
me
their-
with the fucking forearm.
Yeah.
Exactly, because this is a measure.
Right.
This throws my measure off.
Yeah.
It automatically, no one could see what I just did there, but you got film there.
Yeah.
So, and not only that, but like everybody at this point knows what professional wrestling is, how professional wrestling works. I hit fucking people. Like, I hit people.
Yeah.
And I let people hit me. And it's
Fair, yeah.
it's
Fair
safe,
game, yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking safer for you to hit me in an area that is conditioned and trained than trying to fake hit me in an area and then you end up blasting me in the fucking face because you're too preoccupied trying to make a noise on a forearm, which if you actually know how to deliver a forearm properly, that shit makes a noise anyway.
Yeah.
And also, headbutts don't make smacking noises,
Yeah.
which
They make like clunk sounds.
Yeah.
Remember that shit, Hollywood.
yeah, it's a hollow thud that not many people are going to be able to hear other than you and the person delivering it and maybe the referee.
No one wins with a headbutt.
Yeah, nobody wins with a headbutt.
Nobody.
I've never headbutted somebody in my life, but I can never imagine that.
Yeah.
That would be like
I
a smart
accidentally
move.
headbutted one of my girlfriends.
On accident?
Yeah, we
Sure,
were like in
Brother.
the car.
Me too, it was also a girlfriend.
We
I
were
feel
in
like.
the back seat, and then you know how you kind of like fake someone out, and then you just like don't expect them to like move into it. So
Yep.
I went, and then she also was like, "Ha!" and then like doom, and I was
Don't-
like, "Oh,
Why did you do that?
Yeah,
and
why-
then at that point, it's equally as much her fault as is your fault because she should have pulled back.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you
because someone's gonna get in trouble
don't
for it.
respond to it. Just take it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
Absolutely.
No one would have got hurt.
There's a lesson that can be
Yeah.
learned in that. Don't respond, just take it.
Just take it. Just go.
There you go. But yeah, anything else? I'm very long-winded. I'm going to apologize now. I do ramble quite a bit.
It's all right.
It's okay, we all do.
Yeah. If anything, I mean, I'll keep doing it. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I got
Rambling's
nothing but
fun.
time. You got a question?
It's better to ramble than to have nothing to say, I feel like.
Indeed.
I have a lot of wrestling stuff, really, but I don't really know where any of it goes. But the first thing that I wanted to ask about was something that, because I was talking to my coworker. Oh, well, I mean, there's that too. Wait, what were you laughing at?
What we were talking about, Five Guys before.
What, that we're both named Cody?
No, the other thing
What was the other thing? I don't even
about you used to being fat.
I used to be extremely
Yeah, I was
fat.
going to ask about that too, but
Yeah.
we were on a different topic. I more or less was I talked to my coworkers at work, and I was like, "Hey, is there any like kind of stuff you guys would be interested in hearing about like from a wrestler?" And then one of my coworkers said there was like some huge stigma between like backyard wrestling
Oh,
and
yeah.
professional wrestling.
Absolutely there
Is that
is.
a
And I had no idea what this would be about.
So I could go on for this
I just don't
for
know
a
where it
really,
comes from.
really long time, but I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. Everybody at some point has backyard wrestled.
Uh-huh.
You know, like, or front yard wrestled, or
Any kind of
living
yard.
room
Yeah.
wrestled, or bedroom wrestled. Hey, now. Sometimes
I
you gotta-
wrestle in the bedroom.
Yeah,
also.
sometimes you have to pay extra for that. But, so,
Wrestling.
here's the thing though, is that if you're really serious and you're really passionate about it, anybody can go to a wrestling school and anybody can sign up and anybody can learn how to do this. Are you going to be able to do it on a level where you're making money? That is, it's a very, 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 very long shot in the dark.
Yeah.
And it is possible. Like, even me, like, I've never wrestled for WWE, but I've made money doing this. Like, professional wrestling's paid my bills for a couple years before.
Do you ever try out
That's
for,
awesome.
for the Fed?
I've never tried out for the Fed.
Yeah, I was just
So-
curious how that worked too.
Yeah.
You, like,
There,
go from one tier to the next.
there's other people that you could talk to about that. And I have some health issues that would probably keep me from even passing a medical. So, and that's a whole entire other long story too. But here's my problem with backyard wrestling, is that you have these people that who could take their hard-earned money and they could sign up to a wrestling school, learn how to do it safely, and contribute to the wrestling community by paying a fee for training and then becoming wrestlers themselves and then doing it the right way. But instead they make excuses like, oh, well, I got a bum shoulder. But you have a bum shoulder, but then you go out and then you get a wrestling ring and you spend all this money on a wrestling ring to put in your backyard. And then you have these matches and then you put them on the internet and then all your friends like all 10 of them like it on Facebook and talk about how cool it is. You know, where they could be contributing, you know, like if every single backyard wrestler, instead of buying a pair of kick pads, gear, and a wrestling ring, went to their local independent promotion that ran a school and contributed and then learned how to do this properly, one, not everyone's going to make it. But you would at least be able to possibly have an opportunity to be a part of wrestling.
Yeah, see if you got the chops for it.
Absolutely. And that's one thing. So yes, there is a very, very... The stigma is kind of going away because now people are more focused on backyard MMA fights, which I think is fucking hilarious.
That is funny.
Like, I mean...
You should not be doing anything in the backyard.
Yeah.
Other than barbecuing,
Joe Rogan
maybe.
is not going to kick in the door and
Right.
tell you when you're gone too far.
Right. But yeah, there is a little bit of an issue with backyard wrestling, and I actually was going to start a Facebook page about it. Stop Backyard Wrestling. And then there's some other Facebook pages that popped up, like the Trash Bag Wrestling and
Trash Bag Wrestling.
Look it up. Look up Trash Bag Wrestling. Look up You Are Not Getting Booked was another page, and the way they were going about it is they were trying to make a joke about it and like laugh at these guys. And I didn't want to make a joke about it. I wanted to be serious because I take wrestling fucking seriously. It's not a joke to me. Like anyone, to give you a little bit of background on me, the first time I lost a lot of weight, going back to that subject, I was very ill, and I ended up having a lung surgery, and they removed 2 lobes of my right lung, completely hacked it out. I have essentially one functioning lung, and then part of another lung that basically does nothing. They
holds its weight.
Yeah, they could have taken that out too if they wanted to, but they decided not to.
Keep it symmetrical, kind of.
Yep, and
not at all.
Yeah. And I ended up losing like 100 pounds in the hospital. I was 250 when I first started going through my illness, and then I ended up losing essentially 100 pounds from the time of I was 17 to 17 and a half. It was like 5 or 6 months that I lost 100 pounds, and then I got out of the hospital. And I ballooned up again up to about 250, and then I decided to be more serious about taking care of my body and exercising and dieting and take training seriously. And I can do it. I don't understand why anybody else said that they couldn't do it. They want to make excuses because maybe they don't have the actual work ethic or drive to do it.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to discipline as far as what I see in people is like...
And there's nothing wrong with being a fan.
Yeah.
Then be a fucking fan.
Yeah.
And there ain't nothing wrong with being a fan, but when you try to portray yourself like, oh, I care about nothing else in the world but professional wrestling. That's why I went out and bought a backyard wrestling ring so I could wrestle my friends and do absolutely nothing with my life other than work a 9-to-5 job. then you're not a part of the fucking solution. You're a part of the problem.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So, like, if all the backyard wrestlers, like, stop backyard wrestling, invested into actually doing professional wrestling, the community would grow.
I've seen I've seen some people that were really talented. Like, I mean, that were like...
in backyard? Yeah. I believe that.
And they could do it. And there's some people that made the transition. And like I said, like, backyard wrestling is still a thing, especially on the East Coast and the South.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge thing. Yeah. And it's just... I used to be really offended by it. It doesn't bother me that much anymore because the idea of having a bunch of backyard wrestlers sign up to Future Stars of Wrestling's training facility tomorrow would make me probably want to, go plan traffic. Like, it would be very, very nerve-grating, but I'll give anyone the time.
Right.
It doesn't matter size, ability, age, skill, gender, fucking Martian. Doesn't matter to me. If you step into Future Stars of Wrestling's training facility and if you give Joe DeFalco money to sign up and train, I will spend just as much time with you as any other person in that fucking building.
So you actually train people there too?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the same place where Lazaro fought.
Yeah, I am training today.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So if you guys actually want to come down and hang out for a bit, you're more than welcome to.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even get in that ring when we were there. I've only been to the FSW place once. I think it's the same place you're talking about.
Pretty
cool,
I've stepped in there once.
It'd
and
be cool to be like on the actual field of springs.
Me and Titty
like.
were in there for like a split
Yeah,
second.
you wrestle Sarah all the time.
Yeah, no.
You're gonna kill her one day.
I would love to do that one day, but
sorry, Mike.
I don't know.
What, the
It's
wrestling
cool.
team?
Yeah, wrestling, yeah.
Dude, your
It'd be
family's
cool.
killing
Well,
it. Like, I saw
yeah.
Cassandra's match,
Yeah,
like, last week or something.
something like that.
Like, I didn't watch it at the place, but I watched it online. It was fucking
And
dope.
I know that I've told you behind closed doors, but allow me to tell you in front of
In microphones.
closed doors, but while being recorded, your sister and your brother are fucking awesome. And they are passionate, driven, and I don't think that I've met anybody other than myself that give that much of a fuck about professional wrestling.
Seriously.
And they're tough as shit too. Like I'm extremely proud of their progression, and I know that they're gonna progress more.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
crazy.
awesome.
And that shit comes from you, I'm sure, dude. Like, you
Yeah.
probably introduced wrestling.
Yeah,
to them,
no,
I'm sure.
I definitely like to take credit. I took
they
Laz,
take the leap, but I
Laz
mean,
to his first show, took Cassandra to her first show.
But I mean, like, showing them WWE.
Oh yeah. I mean, I watched
At a young
wrestling.
age and stuff
Yeah,
like
when
that.
I was a kid, so it just kind of went from there. But I think from what they wanted to do, like my little brother wanted to do it as soon as he saw it. Same with my sister, and I don't know, it's cool. Like I always thought that I would be the one, and sure
I thought
enough,
that too, honestly.
yeah. But they're doing it. I mean, they have more drive than I do to go do it. So
Well, the door is open for you.
Yeah.
Just
One-
come down one day,
yeah.
and we'll figure it out. So, and feel free, start piping off questions to me, man, because I see that you have a big
I do. I have a lot of
notebook
shit, but
there.
it's really never like
You have like the Blues Clues handy dandy notebook right
I
here.
wish.
well,
Yeah.
before
That
we
uses
get into
crayons.
it again. Yo, okay. So one real question before we stop this one, and then we'll go to the next part. Why was it Steve? Steve was the first one, right?
Yeah.
Why was his handwriting so shitty in Blue's Clues?
Because it's fucking done in post.
I think done in post is one thing, and I don't think that he actually ever really cared about being a children's television host.
He was in a band and
Yeah,
shit like that.
I mean
Yeah.
that dude was like Portland, like hipster dude. Like, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely brilliant to like see what happened to him. Like, I mean, the guy fell off the face of the earth, got back into music, and shaved his head, and he's just
That's real progression.
Yeah, I mean that dude. I mean, I'm pretty sure that he took a lot of money, and he also still gets a lot of royalties. I'm sure that he's doing well for himself.
Yeah, bro.
I believe it.
That's
I
the
believe
dream.
it. I saw it on the news recently too.
That's
or
the
something.
dream. So, and one more time too. Like once again, like I said, I am long-winded. If you guys want to get together again, talk more
yeah.
stuff
I'm sure
about
we'll
that
either
stuff.
way. We're kind of just like started
Yeah.
doing this thing, so like we're just chatting. We don't really have a goal any of the time that we do this. So.
Sweet,
Yeah.
sweet.
So let's pause this one and then get into the next one.
Sure.
Sounds good.
That's
That's a good way to start.
Did you say?
regular flat tire. Yeah.
Yeah, these are just normal fat tires.
Cheers.
This is the original,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the favorite.
I could have
One
sworn
more
this was
time.
an amber, but it just says Belgian style ale.
When you pour it in a glass, it looks pretty
Yeah, it
amberish.
looks-
This is
Alright.
actually one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I actually
me too,
really
actually.
enjoy Fat Tire.
Me too. That's why I figured try out all their other shit.
Mm-hmm.
Don't undervalue them as like a face value thing.
As
So
a what? As a
my,
face value
my first
thing?
thing I want to bring up here is I just saw the trailer for the new Halloween movie yesterday.
I still haven't seen it
Oh
yet.
my god, it looks so good.
I wish I had a monitor.
Dude,
control
I know
of this
right
right
here.
here.
Just,
Yeah,
like,
I
watch
just
it
play
do
it.
have a monitor,
Um,
but yeah, we don't have like a guy to pull shit up.
So,
I guess that kind of segues. Yeah, I mean,
Jamie Lee Curtis is on board. Like I'm pretty much hopeful.
yeah, it's got to be good,
It looks
or at
pretty
least.
sweet. And is it just called Halloween? It's like,
My only
how are you
issue-
differentiating these movies anymore?
My only issue, Halloween 2, is my favorite Halloween in the
That-
entire series.
And that's the Sans Michael Myers one, or is that 3?
No, the first one, the original ones where she was in the hospital.
Yes.
And then like he chases her around there. That was my favorite one. And this one basically writes all those sequels out. So this is like a direct
Yeah.
A direct sequel from Halloween 1.
exactly.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
Michael Myers got arrested. He's in like a prison
Yeah.
for like a certain amount of years.
So it's essentially rebooting and not continuing the actual story arc that transpired from one all the way up.
Yeah, but while taking Jamie Lee Curtis and her traumas with her.
Right. Well, and that's unfortunately that's just not a thing that happens with Halloween. Mm-hmm. Like that's a thing that happened with like Spider-Man. Like look at Spider-Man. Like the first.
I get what you're saying.
The first 2 Spider-Man movies were fantastic, but then you have that one bad one, and then they're like, well, fuck, we gotta start everything over now. Like that fucked everything up. And it's kind of like if you can imagine somebody like drawing like a beautiful piece of art, and then all of a sudden there's just one little tiny mistake, and then they just take everything.
I'm sure people do that though, like
fucking set
it's just like a perfectionist mentality. I feel like. And even then, it's different people making each one of those individual series, and when it comes to Spider-Man, at least.
And while I appreciate that, like, there ain't no such thing as perfection.
Yeah,
you're not going to hit it out of the park every time.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people, if you're going to write something and you're going to create something, don't just create the start. Think about the middle and think about the fucking end.
Yeah.
Like, that's super important. How is it starting? What's going to happen before we get to the final chapter, and then what happens at the final chapter? Like, too many people, too many Hollywood writers, all they do is they write the first thing, hope it gets picked up, and then when it gets picked up and they get signed for a second season or they get signed for a sequel for a movie, well, fuck, what do we do now? Well, we gotta do this.
But I mean, then again, like if you're writing like a 24-episode season of a show, like that's a beginning, middle, end of its own.
It's true.
It's hard.
And you like, why spend all that time? I mean, I get like coming up with another season, but then you don't even get picked up, and you're like, well, I could have been writing my next show or something.
No, that's like, so I've written scripts for like stuff that I wanted to kind of be like episodic. It's tough because you have the beginning, you have the end, but then it's like, okay, well now I gotta fill this one episode up with shit that kind of gets it to the next one, and like so on and so forth, and then it's like by the end of it you're like, there's a lot of like shit in the middle that is just fucking.
It's filler.
Yeah, and it's filler. Yeah, it's like half there, and I was like, so this is why people make movies. I see that.
So I know this isn't the wrestling one, but there's a thing in wrestling called the in-betweens. Like, what are you doing in between you getting hit and then you getting sent off the ropes? What are you doing in between you getting pinned and then you kicking out and then you going to the next thing? And some people have fantastic in-betweens, and other people don't even have, like, a concept of what in-betweens are. And that is something, same thing, like, when you're writing stuff, it's really, really hard to make everything tight-knit.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find that if you're writing something like a script or even a stand-up comedy set, like I dabbled in that shit for a bit, if you're going to be doing in-between stuff, make it genuine reactions instead of trying to build too much emotion.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are they reacting to? Like, how are they reacting to it? Like, if something sad happens to the hero of the story, give them a little tiny montage of like downtrodden sorrow, slow motion, head in hands, looking in the mirror, shaving their face while Elliott Smith, Needle in the Hay is playing, which is one of the most glorious in-betweens that I've ever seen in cinema from Royal Tenenbaums.
I was trying to think of it, and I was like, this sounds familiar, and I was like,
one of the most glorious pieces of cinema for an in-between, and they really filled the gap of the story by having this really genuine emotional part, and then out of nowhere you're like, now you're wrapped up into that in-between moment, and then when they get back to the story, like that ends up becoming just as much of a pivotal part of the movie as the story itself. So that's the one thing I remember from that movie starkly. Like, I mean, it was, oh shit.
I like the scene where he's like in the hospital where he had the heart attack. It was a heart attack, right? Yeah. He has a heart attack, but then he has his like, not his servant, it's not a servant, but like his helper bring him a cheeseburger, and he's like hiding the cheeseburger, and then the family comes in and it's like, really? That one I thought was pretty funny. I was like, that's a very subtle like comedy thing, especially like Wes Anderson, like all the comedy is like
It's kind of on
super
the nose.
subtle. Yeah,
It's on the big nose.
Yeah,
Because of what's his name who's in all those movies.
But
Jason
also, I actually have smuggled red meat to my grandfather before.
Really?
Who was in the hospital after a heart attack, and that resonates. You know,
Yeah.
like those little tiny comforts. And once again, that's not what that movie is about.
Yeah.
But those little tiny in between moments, like those are. I find that the best in between moments in cinema, TV shows, things of that nature are those emotional moments.
Yeah.
And something that people can like connect with on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I am excited for Halloween. I will watch the trailer at some
Both
point.
the holiday and the movie.
Maybe. I'm definitely excited. Like seeing Jamie Lee Curtis on board with that is awesome.
Yeah.
So
says something.
yeah, about horror movies. What are you guys like? What are your guys' favorites? Now I'm asking you guys the questions.
That happens.
Yeah. I don't. My favorite horror. I really like Cabin in the Woods. I don't even know if that classifies as a horror movie.
I
These
would
days.
I
It's
would
kind of like
qualify
a,
that. Yeah.
It's like a
take it.
parody of all of them. I feel like, but
Yeah.
definitely just like brings all the best elements.
Yeah.
Like
Good twist to it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at the very end.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish you could see more. You know.
Yeah.
But like that movie came out just before the Avengers did,
Mm-hmm.
and it was made by Joss Whedon.
Mm-hmm. And it has Chris Hemsworth in it too.
Yeah, it's true. So like they were never really gonna
Yeah.
follow it up. It was just kind of like a project from back in the day that like burned too long. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like big horror movies. I honestly feel like a lot of horror movies fall short a lot of the time. Like
Well, a lot of
lately, at
newer
least.
ones,
Newer ones,
for
yeah,
sure.
That's a better way to put it. That movie Hereditary that just came out looks pretty cool. It's like some creepy little kid. Who'd have thought, right? But yeah, I don't know. I hear good things. Think of more modern stuff that I've seen.
The Orphanage by Guillermo del Toro, or he was the producer of it.
His stuff is always good.
Yeah,
The
it's
one where the kid's like 30 but looks 14.
no, that's The Orphan.
The Orphan, okay.
Yes, but no, The Orphanage is this
seen
movie
that.
in Spanish about this lady who like moves into an orphanage because that's where she was raised, and then creepy things start happening as her
moves
son
into an
starts.
orphanage because that's where she was raised.
Well, yeah. She was an orphan before.
Slow regress.
She was an orphan, so then she was like dedicated her life to
helping other orphans.
Yes,
Okay, I get
so
what
she
you're
bought the orphanage that
Okay.
she was raised in,
Gotcha.
and then her son goes missing, and then basically creepy things start happening in the house. But what makes me like it so much is that it's a terrifying movie, like suspenseful, as compared to jump scares and
Yeah, you feel
stuff
the
like
tension.
that. Yeah, like it the only movie that has ever made me feel uneasy. You know, like genuinely creeped out. Like you know when you're like by yourself and something
Yep.
creepy happens and you're like,
I gotta turn some lights on.
Yeah, you
gotta
know.
call my mom and tell her that I love her.
yeah. So it
3
was
o'clock in the morning, son. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Do
so
you guys prefer like the supernatural kind of horror movies or more like thrillers, slasher, serial killers?
I mean to watch. If it's for strictly entertainment, like slashers, I think are usually the way to go.
I love the
See what the kills
absurd
are, yeah.
fucking slashers for sure.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah, but it's never scary to me.
It's not, yeah. It's
Yeah.
just like, well, sure, being like hung over a fire and like being like dangled over a fire in while covered in like a rucksack or whatever. That's from Halloween, not Friday the 13th.
Oh,
Yeah.
They just like hang that girl.
I think Friday the 13th really set up like how many different ways could we
Yeah.
kill
somebody.
It's cool, yeah.
And
Yes.
they really went for it.
Yes,
It's cool.
They did.
The amount of
And-
ways you could think about killing someone.
And the game is very rudimentary. I don't know if anyone's played
I haven't,
like the
but
Friday
it
the
looks
13th
cool.
game. It's essentially hide and go seek with kills, and they have a lot of the kills from the Friday the 13th movies in there. So it makes it cool. Like it's a fun little piece.
I just read something that they were going to do DLC for that game, but it got canned because they're the rights for the new movie.
They're coming out with another movie.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, that whole entire game was actually made as a homage to Friday the 13th.
Yeah, it was never supposed to have the license.
Yeah, and then eventually they ended up
kickstarted.
getting the license because they weren't doing dick with it. And then now the game comes out. That's kind of unfortunate.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
But I
a
mean,
little
like, you got to
unfortunate.
know that, I mean, that money's got to be going to them in some form anyway, right?
Yeah.
Well, I hope
Bloomhouse
so.
or, like,
Like, I hope so.
what's
You
his
think
name?
Blumhouse is doing that?
I don't know. I was just
they do
naming
like
off one of
every
those
horror
computer
movie.
series.
For me,
It's our boy Michael Flanagan.
my favorite shit was always the absurd like elements of comedy and horror. I was always a really big fan of the Evil Dead series.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And I love how the first movie, there wasn't very many comedic elements to it, but then like it slowly started going that path. I remember Evil Dead 2 specifically.
Definitely takes that turn.
Yeah, when like he starts going crazy in the cabin, and then like all like the ornaments and the furniture start fucking with him, and he has to cut off his own hand, and the facial expressions of him like looking directly in the camera, and, like that shit. I loved that stuff, and I remember if you can ever get your hands on the director's cut of Dead Alive.
The video game one?
No, Dead Alive.
Dead or Alive.
Yeah. Dead Alive was actually done by, I believe, Peter Jackson, who ended up doing the Lord of the Rings series. Well, before he was
a little
making...
franchise.
Yeah, a little
Okay.
franchise known as Lord of the Rings series. But before he was doing big budget fucking take my money blockbusters, he was doing like these obscure horror movies. The first one he did was Bad Taste. And that one is equally as awesome. And then Dead Alive... if you can get your hands on the director's cut, not to give too many people too many spoilers, but fuck you, it's fake like wrestling is.
Who'd have thought?
It's already written, motherfucker.
In the first one, you were like, you danced around saying that it was fake in the best way I've ever heard. That I was like, oh, I'm definitely gonna steal that. And then like those one, you're like, yeah, it's fake. And I'm like, okay, that's a switch.
rules of
Sorry,
game.
go ahead. Sorry.
I used to protect wrestling, but I can't protect wrestling from people anymore. Like, even though people...
You are adults.
Yeah,
That's what that
you're adults. You have the internet. You spend all your time on the fucking internet bitching about shit. Like
Bitching about wrestling.
Bitching about wrestling. Oh my god. There's a scene in Dead Alive, the director's cut, where he kills like a room of zombies with a lawnmower and hacks them all up, and their body parts start going everywhere. And then he has to like run out of the house from the giant monster that's in there. It's like this gigantic rat. And he can't run because there's too much blood, and he's slipping on the blood. So then he has to start stepping on the severed limbs in order to get out.
Make progress.
It's so
Realistic
absurd.
Yeah.
So absurd. Amazing film. Even Tucker and Dale versus Evil was
that one was a good
fucking
one.
I really like
awesome.
that movie. That's more in the same vein of like Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah,
for
and
sure, awesome.
So and because I dig things that kind of like pull at the things that I dig, like comedy.
Yeah.
I love comedy, sketch comedy, stand up, all that stuff. I love horror, and
Sketch horror, stand up
yeah,
horror.
absolutely, sketch horror, stand up horror. If anything, that's what we should be doing. We should be doing some sketch horror and some stand up horror.
Stand up horror. Coming
But
soon.
That's one of those things that man, like all that stuff. If you're able to get there now, if I can't even really think about anything too serious other than like the Halloween series. The Halloween series was always really good because I remember the first Halloween, there actually wasn't even blood in it, if I remember correctly. There was maybe been a little bit, but it wasn't.
Definitely, I don't know. I can't say definitely, but I would imagine the only like a for sure time would be in the beginning where he kills his sister.
Yeah.
And
you might see a little bit of
you
blood
might see
on
the
the
knife, but there definitely isn't like a blood bath.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that might come to mind.
Yeah. And I mean, even going back to like the Michael Myers sit-up, like when he would get laid out and then you'd think he'd be done and then he was sitting right up. And
Jason does that too, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if Jason does it the exact same way, but I'll tell you who does do it the exact same way. The fucking Undertaker.
You think?
Yeah,
the Undertaker?
yes, he did.
Sure.
Is that
Yes,
like
he did.
a confirmed?
That
story?
is confirmed.
I can only
That
imagine like
is-
the Undertaker like talking about it. He was like, "You guys seen Halloween?
Yeah.
You see how he fucking just sits
It's
up like
yeah.
that?" He was like,
Bro, that's creepy.
"Bro."
Yeah.
Like he's like, "Dude, I'm gonna do that.
I'm
I'm
gonna do
stealing
that
that."
It's a good thing to do. I don't think
That's
it's a good
now
move.
it's fucking iconic. Like
Yeah.
you see someone like do that shit, and you're like, "Oh, that's the Undertaker."
Yeah,
Yep.
bro. People post that in the morning, like post a gift to their friend. They're like, "Me waking up."
Yeah, like sitting straight up. But yeah, like that, and just that element of Halloween.
Yeah.
The fact that it wasn't really a slasher film and it was very like suspense-driven horror. You know, because granted, Michael Myers getting shot like umpteen million times and then sitting up from it isn't very realistic, but it is very realistic for somebody that's much larger than you to be popping up behind you when you least expect it and then getting you out of nowhere. You know, like, so Halloween series was great. Nightmare on Elm Street added a lot of those comedic elements to it. And like I remember really digging Freddy vs. Jason when it came out in theaters, even for the camp factor.
Yeah,
I dug it.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, it was campy as shit. I think it was one of the first movies you could see boobs in too.
Yeah,
on television.
If you actually go and you search for it too, like they actually did like a weigh-in between Freddy versus Jason,
like boxing.
They made it like a boxing weigh-in, like, and they just released that, not too long ago. Like it was like a private event hyping the movie, and the footage is out now, and like they actually have Jason get on the scale and Freddy Krueger get on the scale. It's fucking stellar. It's very cool. Yeah.
Little claw hands.
but in the realm of wrestling, you have the smaller guy that he's fast, and he's agile, and he might be a little bit more technical than the big dude. But if the big dude gets his hands on you, motherfucker, he's gonna punch your head directly off, which is one of my favorite kills. And I think it was Jason Takes Manhattan when the one dude squares up on him. He's like, "Come on, bitch!" and then pop.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Head off.
I never seen Jason Takes Manhattan.
It's decent.
To watch Jason Voorhees punch somebody's skull off when they try to square up with them and like
typical
get a throw down.
Yeah,
it's fucking stellar.
Just talking about comedic horror, Leprechaun. Leprechaun was always my favorite.
Yes, indeed.
Leprechaun.
Chucky.
Going back to seeing boobs in movies, part 3 was in space. And I can...
Leprechaun? Leprechaun?
Yeah,
so
Leprechaun 1 is the one with Jennifer Aniston. Her first movie
ever?
debut.
Yep.
Fucking making it.
Yeah, it was pretty... I love that movie. Part 2 was in Hollywood. 3 was in Vegas. 4 was in space.
1 was in the hood.
Yeah, that was the one after. But the one in space...
after space, you go to the hood. That's not... You were
going like you were going up and then you come right back down. What are you doing?
Yeah. Where do you go from space, I guess? Leprechaun
back
in
to
heaven.
the hood. But no, part 4 had boobs, and it was one of the first times that I remember, like, oh, those are boobs.
Whoa!
Like child me, like.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw boobs on TV. It was Final Destination 2.
Oh, in the tanning booth?
No, it was like a scene where like this car drives by. It's when the freeway, there's like the big freeway accident, and then like a car drives by and then some girl just flashes him for no reason. And I was at my friend's house and it was on TV and I just like looked over and I was like,
boobies.
Did you see that? That was a pair of tits.
I just saw it right. He didn't see it.
Man,
he never believed me to this day.
Go back.
Daniel,
and watch
I know
it.
I haven't talked to you in about 10 years.
But those are boobies.
While I can't remember what the first pair of tits I saw was on TV, I will say that I do remember. I went to my grandparents one time, and no one ever really censored stuff that we watched. Like my mom would watch like crazy horror with us all the time. Like like she was a big fan of like all the full moon pics, like Puppet Master and fucking Castle Freak and Bloodstone, all that stuff she was really into. And we all watched it. So she never really cared about what we were watching. But my grandparents every now and again would be like, hey, you can watch pro wrestling, but we don't want you watching any of that ECW stuff because they hit women with Singapore canes, and we don't condone that. So, but yes.
This is 2018, Grandma.
Yeah. So
we're hitting every woman with Singapore canes.
Canes, that's right. Which I would never do, but
Is that where you draw the wrestling line?
No, I can't even say that because I've actually beaten the shit out of some girls before.
Yeah, no, I was like, you beat the shit out of my sister. Like, come on, son.
I kicked my sister in the mouth one time.
Yeah.
I think the girl that got it the worst was when I was feuding with Funny Bone Erin, who was
what was her name? I know what you're talking about.
I gave it to her. I gave her the business for sure. But
you guys were just beating the shit out of each other. Like you and Funny were just going at it.
Yeah, but
he was beating the shit out of your guys.
Yeah,
troopers or whatever.
Yeah, I had a little tiny stable, but.
I was so jealous. I've always wanted a wrestling stable.
This isn't the wrestling one though. This is
So we can talk about it. Yeah, we can talk.
Just let it all flow.
My grandparents.
Yeah.
So I go over to my grandparents' house, and I'm a little bit older, and I've just earned the privilege of saying the word fuck in front of my grandparents, which I don't know if anybody's actually ever had that period in their life. But
like you knew, you're like,
Yeah, my grandparents died before I had the opportunity to really
I could say fuck in front of my grandparents.
Can I say fuck?
Yeah. So I'm like 22. And they're watching.
I thought this was like 18 or something.
No,
like
22.
Teenage.
No, my granddad was a hard ass man, and my grandma was just as hard too. But so they're watching Nip Tuck.
Oh god, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, on FX. Okay.
Yeah, and keep in mind, like when I watched shit with my grandparents, I'd have to do the cover your eyes thing.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
Where at this point, I don't have to do that anymore. I just said fuck in front of my grandma last week during Christmas dinner. You know, like I'm doing okay.
It was not Christmas last week.
Well, I mean, at that point in time. At that point in time.
That was a weird timestamp.
Yeah, so, oh my god, and the episode was about this guy that wouldn't go down on his wife. And
DJ Khaled?
then she ends up, like, having some type of, like, lip deformity, and they actually have to graft skin from her vagina and put it onto her lips.
Wow.
And then the first thing that she does when she gets out of surgery is she kisses her husband. And my grandparents, like, start laughing like it was an episode of Beavis and Butthead. There's like...
I mean, there is a very funny
And I'm looking at my grandparents, and I'm like, all right, this is the relationship that I have with my grandparents now. I'm going to watch them laugh very awkwardly at vagina jokes, and I'm going to say fuck at the dinner table. So it was like full circle. Full circle.
Okay, so you mentioned the first time not being censored, like not being told to close your eyes or look away. Do you remember the first time you were like not told?
No,
like,
because like to be 100% honest, my parents for the longest time, like no matter what movie they were watching, from pretty much like the age 14 to today, I could walk out at any time and see them watching a movie, and it will always be a sex scene, like almost 100% of the time. Like, do you guys exclusively look for movies that are just this, or like you've heard of Pornhub, correct?
Right.
It's 2018.
You know, the internet is actually a place where people can get pornography for free.
That I know you're looking for.
You know, I wonder how hard like the porn industry got hit once people stopped buying VHS tapes and they had to go to like websites like Pornhub.
Did you know the porn industry single-handedly brought down HD DVDs?
I believe it.
Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, because we had HD DVDs before Blu-rays, and porn actually decided to go with Blu-rays over HD DVDs, and that's why Blu-rays succeeded and HD DVD didn't.
Right, but now, like...
Fucking powerful industry.
Yeah, now, like, people aren't even paying for porn. Like,
I know, it's weird. Like, where's the money come from?
If you're paying for porn, you're a fucking sucker. Like, I'm sorry.
I paid for porn.
What's the benefit of Pornhub Premium? Anybody know?
Regretted it, yeah.
It was a sale. It was like 12 videos for like $12, and I was like, yeah, I'd buy it out. Bought it, and it was like you had to download it, and I was like, I'm not downloading this shit on my computer. Like,
people will know I watch porn.
People are gonna like see a file. They're gonna see a file that's like, why is this called blah blah blah? And I'm like, let me look in here, and it's like,
I need
fuck machine
titties,
HD, and it's like, okay,
well,
that's fair.
You have to rename it on your desktop. Absolutely not porn.
That's absolutely too much work.
Or totally gay porn. I'm not gonna click on it.
Yeah, don't open my files. You're gonna find a whole lot of videos with strange names.
You know what I did the other day? And man, I can't even believe that I'm talking about this in a public forum right now. So I went through and I found an old box of VHS tapes. And when I was a kid, I would just like anything that I wanted to see, I would tape and then I'd go back and watch later on.
That's fair.
I found a VHS tape that consisted of the following.
On one tape?
It's a list.
On one tape.
Oh, sweet.
Top 10.
Some professional wrestling matches.
Oh, this is already too good.
The first few episodes of Aqua Teen Hunger Force that ran on Adult Swim.
Okay.
Some episodes of Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Skinamax soft porn. And then after that, I apparently got 2 VCRs, attached them together, and then started making bootleg copies of porno tapes. And like all in one VHS tape, which was essentially if you if anybody ever grabs that when I pass away and they put that into their VCR, they're going to know exactly every single thing that's ever ran through my mind as an adolescent as well as an adult.
Wrestling, cartoons.
Porn.
I like the evolution. You were like, you had softcore porn on there, and you were like, yeah. Then you were like, wait, I got a better idea.
Why am I fucking
Yeah,
around with this shit?
yeah.
I mean, also as a kid, I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I assume like when you were a kid that it wasn't like super easy to look up how to learn things. So you like had to learn on your own how to boot VHS movies and copy them.
I did all that shit on my own. I eventually found out because I would make like my own wrestling tapes because like tape trading was still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I'd make like compilation tapes from wrestling shows like that had like 7 balls matches, one good one. And then I would make like best of 2000 fucking 2 compilation VHS tapes. And then like people were like, yo, like what's good? And I'd hand them the tape, like that's what's good. And it was the same thing. I actually had a really good side hustle when I was a kid where my sister's ex, like they went through a breakup, my sister disappeared, and then for some reason her ex was living with us for a little bit, and then he went away and he left some stuff behind. And some of the stuff that he left behind was a very, very large collection of like 90s porn VHS tapes. And my side hustle is I would make copies for myself, obviously, and then I would sell the master copy. And there was one summer I ended up making like $375 just selling old Chasey Lane VHS porno tapes. Like that was, and yeah, it was a nice summer.
It was a good summer.
Yeah.
Porn.
Where would we be? Two of the 4 episodes that we've done, we've talked about porn.
There you go,
dude.
It's a thing.
Porn a lot. Like I said, like 90% of my comedy bits are about porn.
You remember when you used to have to find it in a box? Like there was like that one faithful box that you'd like be walking in a back alley, and then it was like the bum's like private stash.
Oh my god!
Nobody knows what I'm talking about. Like it's like you got like a bunch of like magazines.
The bum had like a portable DVD player. That
this is before DVD. Like I mean, like this is back in the day of magazines.
Oh,
like
okay,
and then like you'd see like the stack of magazines, and then like you would have to like almost be brave enough to touch it, but then you didn't want to touch it, but you were still curious, so you'd ask you'd ask your friend like, "Yo, man, pick that up. Like, start opening it up. If it's sticky,
like double dog dairy.
Sticky.
If it's sticky, leave it alone. But if it's not sticky, we got it before he did. We're taking that shit. Like, so you'd always have to convince your buddy to touch it before you did.
That's fair. I think I've only seen one porno mag. Like a friend, like my girlfriend at the time, her friend had like a porno mag. And I was just like, this is weird. And like we were just like hanging out like with my girlfriend and her friend, and I was just looking at it, and like even in my head I was like, this is weird. Like I'm like, this is not like, this is way too casual right now.
It's too casual, and that's one thing. Everyone has a buddy or has a story about having an awkward porno experience with other people.
Yeah.
Like back when I was a kid, like if we found the box of porno mags, it's like, all right, which one's sticky, which one's not? You take this one, I take that one. Don't talk to me about this ever again. And then you had, I remember there's a friend of mine who I'm not going to name.
Because he's still prevalent
because
in life.
He's still kind of prevalent in my life. And he came over to my house when I was still living with my mom. And him and his buddy came down, and they were from the military, and I'd never met this dude before. And they were like broing out. Like they're like, oh, you guys like fucking wrestling? Do you guys know this move? And they're like in the living room, like fucking like trying to show each other like takedowns on each other to show to us. Like, yeah, man, that's like a real fucking takedown. And my friend's friend that we'd never met before, he's like getting like amped up. Like we've got a couple of beers in us. He's like, yeah, man. We're like 18. Like he's like, yeah, man. Like, fuck yeah. Like, you guys want to watch some porno?
Well, the entire build was just so perfect just because, like, some dude getting amped. He's like, fuck yeah. And it was like, you want to watch some porn?
Yeah.
You know?
And then, like, it's like, as a group, like, and all of me and my other friends, like, we watch porn by ourselves.
Yeah.
Like,
it's unheard of.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, and I'm, like, at this point, you know, like, I'm like, dude, like, whatever you need to do to calm the fuck down. Like, I mean, like, you're, like, wrestling each other and shit like that, and we don't have...
That's where your head goes next.
We don't have that much testosterone, and I'm like, listen, dude, like, go ahead and put it on, just quiet the fuck down. If my mom comes outside, like, we're turning it off, just fucking relax. Sit down, have another beer, shut the fuck up. So, this dude and my friend... are like getting into it, and me and all my other friends like, dude, we're turning the shit off. Like, we don't want to watch this
How
shit.
are they getting into it, by the way? I'm just curious.
Like, dude, once again, like, so the like, audio isn't gonna pick. So is this all on video?
Yeah.
Okay, shit.
I believe that one's still running. I think those two are done.
Okay.
Yeah, those just said that one's still running.
He's sitting there watching it like this.
Yeah, that's fine. You can leave it.
And he's like,
oh god, it's already weird.
And then at that point, click. Nope, we're not doing that shit.
That would make.
Thankfully, I never saw my friend's buddy again, and
you think that was it? That he was like, dude, you can't hang out with us.
I don't want you to hang out with me anymore.
And then we're about to like horny beat us up.
full hard on, just like, yeah, let's wrestle.
Yeah, I'm like worried.
I've had my ass kicked before. I could not imagine what having my ass kicked by somebody with a fucking hard on would be like. Like, that would be like fucking degrading as shit. Like, I've had my ass beat by a girl before, and I would rather have my ass beat by fucking somebody that was smaller than me. I'd never have my ass beat by anybody as long as they don't have a hard on
Full
or sexually aroused.
As long as they don't have a hard on.
That's
just don't do that.
Yeah.
Just knock it off.
Smart call.
Just don't.
A good idea.
Don't fight people with boners.
Yeah. Let's not. Let's not. My God.
Boner warriors. or like in the future, we only fight people with boners using boners.
That's the first sketch horror fucking sketch that we're gonna do.
It's like some Black Mirror shit.
Yeah.
Like, what in another reality.
What a good show.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. What a fucking good show. Like, and I don't watch much stuff, but that was really good.
Yeah.
Really fucking good.
Yeah. It's just so clever.
Yeah.
It's hard to
very
think of how somebody
well
can think
written.
of all that.
And also, like, going back to writing, like, look at that. So, why do you think it's so well written? Do you think it's so well written because they're not trying to continuously follow a story arc?
100%.
Like,
it's so much easier to write because, like,
it's a singular
if you have
story,
that, like, oh, well, this is the theme of the show, you have to write episodes to get to this theme, but it's just like, dude, you just need to have a, not like a creepy story, but just like that sort of, like, theme where it's just like, this is what the show is about, where it's like, technology kind of based, and like this is what we're trying to like not infer but show. It's just like
infer it.
Go with it, whatever your idea is. Like, if it's well enough, like, you're gonna write it, you're gonna direct it, like,
it's so much easier to have a beginning, middle, and end when you're only having to worry about writing an episode that is one and done.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's why like serialized TV is gonna be so much better always. Like, I'd rather write for like a cartoon.
Yeah,
like Rick and Morty or something where it's like every episode's detached from one another.
Right, and I mean that's what I love about It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
Like, I mean that's what makes It's Always Sunny good, because you establish the characters, and then you can put those characters in absolutely any situation whatsoever, and then you have them genuinely react as if, how would I react to that if I was actually Charlie Day or Charlie Kelly in the show?
Yeah,
like that is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, and it makes it a lot easier.
I guess forming characters is the hard thing at that point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I love, like, so for instance, like, Marvel is like taking fucking over. Like, they're making
shutting shit down.
Yeah. They're
they shut shit down.
They're having like fantastic films. But for me, the only ones I ever really seem to give a fuck about are like the first ones. Because it's the origin story, and they develop the characters, and now that they develop the characters, like, I remember trying to watch Civil War, and it was just fight.
Yeah.
Story progression,
good
fight. And that's all well and good, but for me, I was never really an action movie kid. Like, I never really cared that much.
Surprising.
Yeah.
With the wrestling background.
But, so here's the fucked up thing. What if I told you that professional wrestling was all storytelling?
Yeah. I was gonna ask you about this earlier too.
Yeah,
and I still probably should, honestly, because.
All right,
I know your time's running
low. We'll do one more, and then we'll just go back to wrestling for about 20 minutes.
And
10 minutes.
But feel free, bring me back, man.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I'm having an awesome fucking time here. Like, this is cool, man.
I also don't think like it necessarily has to be separated out. Like,
yeah.
I mean, then I just as far as like video goes, but who cares?
Everything is
it's
pro
not running
wrestling
right
for
now
me.
anyway.
So for anybody else that didn't want
this is my conspiracy.
Yeah.
Everything is actually is
9/11 was professional wrestling.
George Bush with the Hill Heat.
Absolutely, man. He did it to build Hill Heat in order to get sympathy for the babyface, which was America.
Some might say nuclear heat. All right, we'll be right back with the last 20 minutes of this.
Excellent.
Cool?
Yeah, man. Jesus Christ.
All right.
We're back to wrestling.
We're back to something.
Back on our bullshit. That's all.
Back
We're back
on
on.
our
So let's do some rapid fire stuff, man. Because you have a notebook. Let's try to bust some stuff.
That's totally
out.
fine with me. Well, the first thing, this is like the big thing I wanted to cover, is like it does go back to like how wrestling is fake. Obviously, sorry to spoil it, everyone. Sorry.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
But I just like the thing that blows my mind is that people still can't separate the fake part of wrestling with like wrestling being like more story based, like it's like a show almost, right?
Right.
So but like the only thing they can ever criticize about it is that it's fake.
Right. Well, and that's so
past something, like
with my students, I try to express to them in the utmost sincerity that everyone already knows. So I always ask them, what is your job as professional wrestler? Mm-hmm. And to me, my job as a professional wrestler is to make people doubt for a second.
Yeah, that's a good way to
for
do it.
That's not, yeah.
1 fucking second. Because, like, once again, that's everyone's biggest criticism is like, oh, it's fucking fake, it's fucking phony. If you see me wrestle, there's going to be moments where you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. I mean, you can't fake, like,
dude. He might actually hate that fucking dude. Like, he actually...
You're like, I just punched the fuck out of him. Yeah, he's going to hate me a little bit.
He's actually hitting him. That dude's hitting him. So...
They're hitting each other.
I believe Terry Funk was the one that coined the term, if they know that it's fake, they won't know that I'm fake. Like, that I take wrestling very fucking seriously. Yeah. And to me, like, people always try to compliment me, like, "Oh man, you're a really good actor." I'm not a fucking actor.
Yeah, that's a
fucking wrestler, brother.
I am a fucking professional wrestler, and I treat this shit very fucking seriously. And guess what? I fucking hit people. Sorry, and I let people hit me. So there's no act about it. The shit doesn't actually feel good. Getting dropped on your fucking head is not comfortable.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. So, and not anybody can come and do it. And if you think that you can, feel free.
Come down to the FSW Academy.
6635 Harrison Drive.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll definitely like put the website in there.
That's a weird number per monthly.
But like, that's one thing I will say is that I don't treat wrestling as it's fake. I treat it like it's real, and that's why I'm not a fucking actor. When I'm in a wrestling ring, I'm me. I'm not a character. I'm fucking me. And if I feel like being a dick that day, or if the promoter needs me to be a dick that day, I'm a dick that day. If they need me to be a good guy that still has a lot of fight in him, I can be that guy. You know, like the meme, get you a man that can do both.
Yeah.
Like,
that's me.
I can do both.
I'm that meme and that man.
And I can do that. So, yes.
That's awesome, yeah.
Treat it like you give a fuck.
Yeah, I just wish I wish people could get past that, because like I thought it would be fucking hilarious if like one day it turns out that UFC's been fake the whole time and it just hasn't been outed in the same way that the WWE eventually was.
Weird.
It's also wrestling.
Yeah, I think that'd be so fucking nuts.
I want you guys to bring me back in. Like, please, because like I could talk for a long time
100%. We got
about that shit. Yeah. Like, I mean, the roots of mixed martial arts started in professional wrestling in Japan.
For sure. I mean, and then even like the crossover, Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey now.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's other exceptions in there.
Yeah, if there
But
was no professional wrestling, there would be
why he beats his wife or whatever.
No,
is that not him?
Yeah. Like, who beats his wife? What?
No.
CM Punk is professional wrestler turned MMA fighter that it's not doing too well.
CM Punk like beat. Wasn't he the one that was dating the porn star?
He was dating a lot of people.
I mean,
what's their name? tattoo
Porn
girl.
star.
The girl with all the tattoos.
Oh no, that's War Machine. He was the
War
MMA
Machine.
fighter.
Yes,
My brother
right.
actually fought him
Nice.
and lost to him because he was on
Drugs.
allegedly on the roids.
Yeah.
But that's a different story. Okay, so real quick,
Going back to another question.
funniest thing that's ever happened during a match.
I once had a Twinkie rubbed in my face. And I never knew how much I hated Twinkies
Oh my God.
until that happened.
Your past fat man's
Well,
coming in. He's like,
I-
no!
I never even like really ate them. Like I would rather have
Yeah.
cupcakes over Twinkies.
Yeah, I don't
give a
like
fuck about
Twinkies.
Twinkies. It's just fucking weird. But
Yeah.
I was wrestling Dom Vitelli in Arizona, and his tag team partner at the time was a gentleman named Frenchie Riviera, who was a very big, rotund, hard-hitting Southern wrestler. And I got thrown to the outside, and the fans used to throw Twinkies at Frenchie, and because he's a big
big dude, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and he took a Twinkie, unwrapped it, like hammer fisted it right into my face, started rubbing it everywhere, and then proceeded to punch my fucking lights out. I mean, just cracked the shit out of me. And then I remember like coming back to like right as he was throwing me
like
back in the ring. He
like-
legit knocked me out. And I remember coming to back when I was coming in the ring, like I was only out for like seconds,
Yeah.
but he hit the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, fuck, man, like my face feels greasy, and I'm just like, shit, man, like this is terrible.
This sucks.
Yeah.
I hate wrestling.
Yeah. And we're driving back home from Arizona. It was a great match.
Yeah.
Like, and Frenchie is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not complaining about the hit. I can get hit. That's not a problem. But the problem was the fucking Twinkie. And I remember me and my friend had to go to a rest stop,
Yeah.
and I was using the restroom, and he's like, dude, and I'm like, what? And he like goes to dip in my ear and like takes out this mound of a combination of like Twinkie frosting, sponge cake, and blood. Like, I mean, just like fucking just like, ugh. And yeah, Twinkies. That was
Twinkies.
probably,
That's
hilarious.
that was probably the
That's
funniest
funny
thing.
as hell.
Okay, you got another one?
I want to save some of this stuff before we're going to have you back soon, because I think a lot of the stuff...
Well, I got a bunch of shitty questions, so I'll just ask
Go right ahead, man.
them.
Spider-Man.
You were hurt not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like being hurt and not being able to wrestle?
I'm still hurt, and that's also coincidentally the name of the podcast that I do with my
fuck,
buddy
that was my next
Timothy
question.
Styles. I'm hurt with Cutthroat Cody, which has been on a bit of a hiatus because of me having to get real jobs. That's what really hurt about that, is that I got injured, and professional wrestling was like giving me some money, and then when I got injured, like all of it stopped.
Yeah.
I had to go out and pick up jobs in retail. I had to do whatever I could to pay my bills. I had a lot of people that did support me throughout that time. The injury that I sustained was a torn rotator cuff, but also along with that injury, I have degenerative arthritis as well as tendonitis in the same area as the injury.
Yeah.
So going back to 100% is probably not going to be a thing, and that's why professional wrestling, the performance aspect of it is slowing down for me.
Yeah.
I did have my last match with Nick Bugatti.
Shout out Bugatti.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna shout him out, but he it was a really good match, and it's one of those things I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I mean, I want to rehab a little bit more and see where I'm at. But as of right now, you know, I'm focusing more on the training aspect and trying to help people avoid getting themselves in the situation that I ended up getting myself into. Yeah.
You think, like, if the actual performance part of it goes away for you, that you'd, like, lean towards commentating or anything like that, or...
You know, I have a gift of gab when it comes to conversation, but I don't really have... I don't think that I'm that good
Like real-time
at the
translation.
real-time,
The
like,
play-by-play.
actions, yeah.
by God, King, he has a family. Like I've done it a few times, and it's nice and it's good. But I feel like for me, like a better role is training people and
Yeah, that's true, yeah. That's the other option, I guess,
consulting.
Yeah.
That's really what I've been doing for a lot
You
of
could be
people.
like a Vince McMahon type.
Yeah, like letting them know what's happening. You know, like, hey, you should do this instead of that. Let me show you how to do this better than what you're doing it as, and like that's really the role that I'm going into now.
Yeah. I mean, how old are you? Would you say?
30
Would you say?
I'm 33.
Would you?
Okay. Yeah, I was like,
you would say
if you had to pick a number.
Yeah, 33, and I started training when I was 23.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how long you were.
10 years. 10 years in the biz.
Yes, sir.
In the biz. It's a good record, though.
Yeah, man, not too bad.
Do you know how many titles you've held?
The first title that I held was the Vegas Championship Wrestling Light Heavyweight title, which I won and never defended because the company ended up going defunct. Then I have held a belt that was recognized by the National Wrestling Alliance at the time. It was the NWA IWR Heavyweight Championship, and that company is now defunct, and they lost their NWA contingency before they went under. But that was kind of cool to say that I held a belt that was recognized by the National Wrestling Alliance.
No, yeah, that's dope.
I held the FSW Tag Team titles. I held the FSW Tag Team titles once with Big Duke when I was in the following, and then I had the FSW No Limits Championship for a total of 2 reigns. I had it 2 times. I won it off of Funny Bone. Lost it to Jace Battle, got it back from Jace Battle, and then Swade Thompson.
Oh, he beat.
Swade Thompson.
That's
beat
when
me.
you got.
That's when
hurt.
that last match that I had before the last match that I had. Like I got injured in the match with Swade Thompson. So so I've had a couple belts.
Okay. Is that like? So I know like winning your first is important, but I feel like okay. So this is just me kind of like projecting my ideas and my sort of feelings on this, but every title, no matter what the title is kind of important and special.
The most important to me was the No Limits Championship because when I first started wrestling, I was not good.
Yeah,
I
was not good.
I was not good. Like I had people telling me like, "Hey, you should probably be a referee. Hey, you should probably be a manager. Hey, you should probably be a ring announcer. Hey, you should probably be a commentator."
Yeah,
they were like, "Dude, like this is not going to be for you." And the No Limits title itself ended up having it was essentially FSW's Intercontinental title, and when I got the belt, and then when I feuded with the championship, I should say, when I feuded with Funny Bone and when I feuded with Jace Battle, I went from opening matches and dark matches, like opening shows and dark matches, to semi-main eventing to main eventing.
Yeah.
And
you and Jace main evented when he beat you,
correct.
Right?
Correct.
Uh-huh.
And then keep in mind that was also in the time of the company when Matt Hardy was our heavyweight champion.
Yeah, yeah.
And to me, what means more than the championships was I actually had 2 match of the years. I had a match of the year with Big Duke against the Whirlwind Gentleman in 2014 for a show that I believe was headlined by Matt Hardy and Brian Cage. If I remember my timeline correctly, but we got match of the year for that, and then I also got match of the year in 2016 for the steel cage with weapons match against Funny Bone.
Okay.
And that was 2016. Yeah, so like those meant a little bit more to me than the not to say the championships didn't mean anything to me, but
they just mean a little bit more.
Yeah,
those were fan decided or
both fan decided as well as like back of house decided. Like the boys like all kind of agreed like, hey, this was it, and it was something to me like my first moniker was the lovable loser, and then my second moniker was the ultimate underdog.
Yeah, and
then it's a good one to have.
Yeah, it went into something completely different. Like, I mean, and I'm extremely humble about all of it. Yeah. I'm thankful and I'm grateful, but I had to work really, really hard for the progression that I made in the company. And that's why kind of taking a back seat now and trying to help other people, I feel like I can help them do more than I ever did. Yeah. And that's what I really want. Like, I want people to be more successful than I was. Because I'm at the end. You know, like in the beginning, I wanted to be...
I'm the best, and it's about me.
I never really viewed it that way just because I'm not competitive.
That's fair.
Like,
Okay.
I just wanted to have my part in the show.
That's fair.
And I ended up having a pretty big part in the show for a number of years.
Yeah.
And I lucked out, for sure. For sure.
Well-
Anything else? Any other questions?
Well, no, I was gonna say on that note, like,
Yeah. Just plug whatever, anything you want to throw out.
Yeah.
We're,
Twitters.
are you on Twitter?
I am on Twitter, but I more
Don't
or
really
less
use it?
it's
Instagram for sure.
So
Instagram, yeah.
where do people find you at?
If you go on Instagram, it's at Cutthroat Cody. If you go on Twitter, if you want to like go and stalk my Twitter
Go
page
read
that I had
some
never
2005
used,
shit.
it's at Cutthroat Cody. If you want to add me on Facebook, it's Cody Hancock. I can't separate me from professional wrestling. Like my life is professional wrestling, and also please check out the I'm Hurt podcast with myself and Timothy Styles. Frankenculture.com. Like, those guys hosted some of our episodes over iTunes.
Nice.
So big thanks to Steve over at Frankenculture. Check them out. And if you want to see me, I might poke my head around some Future Stars of Wrestling shows. And
You better.
aside from that, I train classes every Monday, sometimes on Thursday down at Future Stars of Wrestling. So come down, hang out, check it out. If you think it'd be something that you'd like to do, I will gladly take my time to make sure you're all right.
Cool.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, man.
We're definitely gonna have you back. That's for sure.
I want to be back, man. I want to be back. I had a lot of fun.
We'll have to get you on a day where you're not doing class, so we can
not Monday.
so we can really get into it. Throw some more brewskis down.
If I were to have about a few more of these, you would actually see Cryface Cody. It would either be Cryface Cody or Cobra Technique Cody pop out.
Yeah. He's like, I got the gi.
I got my gi in my trunk, bro. I'm
I got
ready.
the tears in my body. They're already there. They're built in.
Cool.
I can produce them whenever I want.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, man,
Thank
much
you.
appreciated.
Fucking cheers, boys.
Cheers, guys.
See you soon.
Very
Hasta
soon.
the bye-bye,
Yeah.
etc., etc.
Thanks.
Following us, what is it, on Twitter at Underachievers Pod, I think.
Something like that.
Gmail.
Also follow Cold Soup.
And yeah, Cold Soup Productions.
We'll host it all.
Yeah.
The ambient noise stuff. Oh man,
The
it was so
ASMR?
good.
Oh, the ASMR. Oh my God.
man. So
If you haven't seen
Thanks,
it yet,
man,
go
I'm
listen to
blushing.
Marco peel a banana into a
I
microphone.
want
It's
him. So
totally
he does
not
this
uncomfortable at all.
Really good Irish
It's
impression?
Irish, yeah.
Called Mike Flanagan.
Oh,
I
shit.
really want him to do an ASMR as Mike Flanagan because I think like
I
that voice
swear this
cracks
bit
me
is
up.
so silly because
Yeah.
it spawned out of the dumbest.
Yeah,
thing.
like it's literally the dumbest thing. But
we
I
watched
crack
fucking
up.
a Ouija, the beginning
movie?
or something
Yeah.
like that.
It's directed
And then at
by
the
a
end, it
dude.
was directed by Mike Flanagan. I was just like, I'm Mike Flanagan. Oh boy, we're gonna do some Ouija game. Hasbro,
So yeah,
I'm
fucking
down with
summon
it.
me some demons, Hasbro.
If anything, yeah, and feel free, man. I've eaten some cold soup in my day.
it's just cereal.
It's cereal,
It's
yeah.
just cereal.
Absolutely.
Which you definitely have eaten.
Cool. Yeah, we'll definitely have you on, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I don't know if anybody's looking at this, but fuck.
Bunny ears. There it is. The cereal tasting was bullshit.
That is interesting.
That's the only one that was bullshit. Like everything else, Cobra Technique Cody does come out when he's drunk. Cobra Technique Cody was the one gimmick that I wanted to do. I wanted to have that as like the dude love gimmick.
Oh yeah.
Because I have the three faces of Cody. You have Crash Test Cody, you have Cutthroat Cody, and then Cobra Technique Cody. I'd come out wearing a gi, and I would do katas and shit. Hi! Yeah. Hi! Oh man, I would love to do that.
Did you grab me a beer?
Yeah.
That's your beer.
It's that one right there.
It's in front of me.
want one before?
I'm sure, man. Like,
Alright,
I need to be responsible.
Yeah, no worries.
Unfortunately. There's too many new students, and if I go in like half cocked,
No,
like,
yeah, I
I'm
totally
just
get
gonna
that.
like, dude, you guys.
He's gonna be
like,
like, yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Let's wrestle. You guys want to wrestle?
Then watch the board.
Jesus Christ.